The steak on my plate was dry, but I chewed it anyway, watching the room like a man waiting for a wrecking ball. It was a networking dinner. White tablecloths, polished wine glasses, marble floors that echoed with every clink of silverware. The chandelier above us looked like it could crush a small car. Fancy as hell, and I hated every second of it. My name's Daniel Rowan. I'm 52 years old. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I've worked at Voncro Supply Chain for the past 14 years. My title? Systems Continuity Manager. I'm the guy who keeps the trucks pointed the right direction, so generals don't scream when boots don't show up on time. I wore the same navy blue suit I'd bought for my daughter's graduation last spring, only one I owned that didn't look like it had seen a bar fight. My name tag said Dan R., like I was someone's +1. I ended up seated next to Robert Kessler, CEO of Grentech Logistics, our biggest client by far. The man was pure steel, sharp suit, quieter voice. Asked good questions and actually listened to the answers. I talked trucks and weather delays while he picked apart the timing on a New Mexico shipment from 3 weeks back. The guy had range. Across the ballroom, I spotted Jared, our new VP of Operations. 36, slick hair, shiny loafers, talking with two execs from Waveman Freight like he ran the building. His laugh was loud, smug. He had that air of someone who didn't know what he didn't know. Nobody introduced us. I figured that was intentional. Jared had only been with Voncro for maybe 6 weeks, already reorganized half the departments, cut a few roles for efficiency. I hadn't gotten a direct email from him, not once, and I wasn't the only one. Word around the office was he skipped chain of command like it was optional. I sat there, smiling polite, nodding through small talk with Kessler while my gut twisted. That quiet pressure right under the ribs, that's where I feel it when something's off. And that night, it was screaming. I wasn't even sure I was supposed to be there. No one from my team was. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. The servers cleared dessert, people started shuffling toward the bar, and I stayed seated. Jared passed behind me, didn't even glance. Didn't have to. His body language said it all. He'd already decided who mattered. I wasn't on the list. I clenched my jaw, loosened my tie, and leaned back in my chair, scanning the room. I didn't know when the knife was coming, but I well knew it was close. That next week, my calendar went quiet. No meeting invites, no pings. The recurring sync I used to run on Mondays, gone. I opened Outlook 3 times before lunch, thinking maybe my filters were off. Then I tried logging into the routing system, my system, and the screen hit me with access denied like I was some intern. I waited a day, then 2. By Wednesday, my badge still worked, but the building felt colder. People avoided eye contact. Cheryl from procurement, gone. Her desk was empty, lights off, like she never existed. No goodbye email, no farewell lunch, just vanished. I walked past her floor that morning and asked the floor manager, "Hey, where's Cheryl?" He blinked, then gave me the line. "She's moved on. Organizational realignment. Organizational realignment. Translation, she didn't leave. She got removed." 2 days later, Ramon from tech support disappeared. He was the guy I called when the trucks glitched out or the dashboards bugged. Knew the system better than most of the VPs. The HR memo called it a mutual transition. Yeah, right. I tried talking to Sandra in HR. "It's Sandra," I said. "I've had restricted access since last week. People are getting dropped like flies. Who's authorizing this?" She looked uncomfortable, like someone sat on a thumbtack. "We're aligning our structure to reflect its post-COVID delivery demands. Capacity optimization. You understand? I understand buzzwords," I said. Not one of them answers my question. She smiled like a hostage and reached for her mug. That was the end of that. Then came the all hands. Everyone piled into the auditorium, standing room only. I got there early, sat in the 3rd row, front and center. Jared strutted in 10 minutes late, flanked by 2 assistant directors I didn't recognize. Took the mic like he was hosting an awards show. "Thank you all for being here," he said, like we had a choice. "We're evolving. We're adapting. We're trimming fat to match a leaner, more efficient future." He never said names, never looked my way, but his smile was too wide, too proud, like a guy who just cleaned out his inbox by deleting everything. And just like that, the mood turned. People stopped eating lunch in the break room. Conversations got shorter. My own team, what was left of it, started asking if I'd heard anything. I lied and said no. But I had. That weekend, I dug through my old files at home. Back in 2011, during the first Grentech contract, I'd been looped into negotiations as a continuity liaison. I remembered a clause, some legal language that had my name on it. It was fuzzy, but I knew it was important. Took me an hour, but I found it, buried on page 39 of a 200-page PDF. Clause 17.4, Essential Operations Personnel. My role wasn't just listed, it was locked in. Elimination of my position required written consent from both parties, Vancro and Grentech. Not optional, not subject to change. I leaned back in my chair, heart steady. I wasn't just protected, I was critical. Next morning, I printed that page, highlighted the clause in yellow, just like we used to in the old days, slid it into a plastic sleeve and tucked it into my briefcase. I didn't wave it around, I waited. Because that kind of thing? That's not a warning shot, that's a warhead. By the following Friday, another manager disappeared, Ron from West Coast Distribution. Nobody said a word. His email bounced. His name disappeared from the org chart. I kept showing up. I did my job, quiet, sharp, watching the whole time. And Jared. Jared walked the floors like he owned the place. Didn't talk to anyone who wasn't at least director level. People asked him questions, and he gave them phrases like, "We're streamlining verticals," and temporary operational shifts. He held meetings in closed-door rooms, glass walls frosted over. My name never came up. But I wasn't being pulled into anything either. I was frozen out. No fights, no write-ups, no emails, just silence. It's always hiding something. I kept that page with me every single day, highlighted in yellow, my name locked into continuity of operations. Jared kept carving up the company, no warnings, no memos. One morning, Brent from Analytics was there, eating a granola bar. Next day, gone. His laptop was boxed up before lunch. Nobody said anything. Not to me, not to each other. That's what made it worse. You could feel it. The building had that same tension you get before a thunderstorm. Everyone's stiff, waiting for the sky to snap. I passed Jared in the hallway once. He looked right through me. Not a glance, not even a fake smile. Just power walking like he was chasing $1 million idea. I stopped, turned, and watched him walk off like I was a janitor. That's when I knew I was on the list. So I waited. The clause wasn't something I could toss around. Flash it too early, and it'd give him time to spin it, bury it, find a workaround. But drop it at the right moment? It was a grenade with the pin already out. Couple days later, I walked into the server room. Routine check. 2 of the junior IT guys were already there, whispering. I stepped in. They went quiet. "You guys need a hand?" I asked. "No, we're good," one said, not looking up. "Just doing a sweep." They weren't sweeping. They were scrubbing. Logs, backups, cleaning house. I stood there for a second too long, just long enough for both of them to get uncomfortable. Then I turned and left without another word. Back at my desk, I backed up every continuity document I could find. Routes, redundancies, blackout protocols, things only I knew by heart. I didn't put them on the company server. I saved them to a personal drive, encrypted, just in case. Because by then, I knew Jared wasn't just cutting roles. He was clearing the board, resetting the whole damn operation like a college kid restarting a video game. And the silence got louder. Team leads stopped doing check-ins. Managers stopped replying to emails. Everything was filtered through Jared's office now, and no one seemed sure what they were even allowed to say. The old rules didn't matter. The new ones hadn't been written yet. One morning, I found my office door propped open, just barely. Like someone had gone in and forgotten to close it. Nothing looked moved, but I checked the side pocket of my briefcase anyway. Clause 17.4 was still there. Still loaded, still mine. I walked over to the window, looked out across the parking lot, and sipped cold coffee from a chipped mug I refused to throw away. The question wasn't if he was coming. The question was when, and how hard he planned to hit. The invite hit my inbox at 6:14 p.m. on a Thursday. Subject line: Annual Supplier Recognition Dinner. RSVP required. No greeting, no personal message, just a link and a dress code. Black tie, optional, business preferred. Pretty sure it didn't come from our execs. It reeked of Kessler. I pulled my suit out of the dry cleaner bag. Pressed, neutral, dependable. The kind of outfit that says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here because I belong. The ballroom was at the same downtown hotel, 4th floor. Name tags were lined up in alphabetical rows at the check-in table. I scanned for mine. Nothing. I'm sorry, what's your name again? The young woman asked, smiling like she practiced it in a mirror. Daniel Rowan, Vancro Supply Chain. She flipped through the remaining tags. I don't see that one. Of course she didn't. No problem, I said. I'll find my seat. She hesitated, but I was already walking in. Inside, the lights were low, candles lit on every table. Big round setups with company banners hanging over designated sections. Vancro's was tucked in the back left, furthest from the stage. Typical. But I didn't come to eat chicken and watch PowerPoints. I came to be seen. I circled the room once, slow and steady. Nodded at a couple old colleagues from Harris Freight. Then I spotted Kessler near the front, talking with a Navy logistics officer and a senator's aide. He caught my eye, gave a small nod, then gestured toward a seat, 2 down from him, across from a guy from Rexton Materials. No introductions, just an invitation. I sat. Dinner started with a speech from the hotel sponsor, some fluff about partnerships and resilience. I tuned it out. My focus stayed on Kessler. He hadn't said a word yet, just cut his steak and glanced at me twice like he was waiting for something. About halfway through the main course, he finally leaned in. You still managing shipment continuity? Yeah, I said. Up until Monday, I guess. He raised an eyebrow. Something I should know? My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. One line from Jared. Pack up Monday. Services no longer required. No subject line. No signature. I tilted the screen toward Kessler. He looked down, read it once, then went back to cutting his steak. You remember Clause 17.4? He asked, like he was asking about the weather. I nodded. He wiped his mouth with his napkin, then pulled his phone out. I wrote that clause myself, he muttered, after your team rerouted a botched Arizona drop in 2 hours flat. He typed with his thumb. Short, sharp movements. Then he hit send. Done. I didn't ask what he wrote. Didn't have to. But I saw Jared check his phone 10 minutes later across the room. I watched his jaw tighten. His smile didn't reach his eyes after that. He went pale, turned toward a Grentech rep near the dessert table, started talking fast. Too late. The message was already sent. You just voided our service contract. See you in court. That's all it took. Kessler poured himself another glass of water. No drama, no raised voice. That was a dumb move, he said. On brand, I replied. The rest of dinner went on like nothing happened. People clapped for supplier awards. Toasts were made. Someone gave a long-winded speech about innovation. I didn't clap. Jared never came near our side of the room. He looked like a man trying to hold a wall up with his back. I sat there calm, still. Because in that moment, I wasn't the guy waiting to get cut. I was the one holding the knife Jared never saw. And Kessler, he just kept eating like nothing had happened. But we both knew. The air had shifted, the hit had landed, and Jared had no clue just how deep the damage went. Monday morning, I showed up at 8:03 a.m. like always. Elevator ride was quiet. The receptionist didn't look me in the eye. That was my first clue. The second was my access badge flashing red at the stairwell to my floor. Took 2 tries before the lock buzzed and let me through. When I reached my desk, the box was already there. Plain brown cardboard. No label, no instructions. Just sitting on my chair like it belonged more than I did. I didn't fight it. Didn't storm into Jared's office or throw a scene. That's what he wanted. A meltdown to justify the decision. I opened the drawers, packed my files, grabbed my old mug and the photo of my daughter from her 8th grade science fair. That was it. No tears, no handshakes, no goodbyes. I walked out without saying a word. An hour later, Grentech's legal team sent the breach notice. 6 pages. Direct, brutal, and carbon copy to every executive at Vancro, including legal, operations, and the board chair. The subject line was simple. Breach of contract, immediate action required. By noon, I heard from someone still inside that the place had gone full DEFCON. Jared tried to claim the clause was outdated, said it was non-standard language from a legacy agreement, and didn't reflect current policy. But that clause had never been revised, never renegotiated, never removed. My name, signature, and timestamp were still there, sitting in Vancro's contract repository, active and enforceable. And now that I was gone, the entire Grentech account, worth $38 million a year, was on the line. 5 military supply chains affected, 3 air bases, 2 naval yards, and a weapons depot in Colorado. No continuity manager meant no route oversight, no embedded redundancy checks, no real-time risk assessments. Everything Jared didn't understand, and now couldn't fix. HR tried to track down a termination trail. No paperwork, no sign-off, no approval from legal, no board consultation. Just Jared, acting alone, pulled the trigger with no cover and no clue what he'd just hit. By Tuesday, his LinkedIn went dark, gone, photo removed, activity feeds scrubbed. By Wednesday, 3 internal meetings got pulled into closed session. No recording, no summaries. I wasn't in the room, but I was in the air. My name came up again and again, not with respect, with regret. They tried to say I may have misunderstood the status of my role. That was Vancro's official line. But everyone knew. I didn't misunderstand a damn thing. I'd kept that company from falling on its face for over a decade. I was the guy who rerouted a lost payload in 32 minutes during the Kansas ice storm. The guy who caught a bad invoice trail that would have flagged us in a federal audit. The guy who trained half the logistics staff and never asked for a promotion. They didn't get it until I was gone. And Jared, he wasn't answering calls anymore. The silence that followed wasn't confusion. It was consequence. That box he left me with? It wasn't an exit. It was the start of their collapse. By Friday, the fire alarms were going off behind the glass. Emergency board meetings stacked back to back. Directors flying in from out of state. Nobody parking in their usual spots. The executive floor stayed locked all day. You could feel the panic ripple out. Admins whispering in break rooms, directors speed walking like someone owed them answers. I had no seat in that building anymore. Didn't need one. I watched it unfold from my porch. Tea in hand, slippers on, laptop open. Didn't have to dig hard. Wallace and Bray dropped the headline around 10 a.m. Grentech terminates Vancro over contract breach. $38 million fallout pending. The article laid it out clean. Grentech cited unauthorized removal of essential personnel, quoted the clause by number, named me directly, spelled it right and everything. The reporters had teeth. Called it the biggest vendor compliance failure in the defense sector since 2014, asked how a company with military accounts could mishandle a contract so badly. I scrolled through the comment section with a smirk. Vancro's PR team scrambled to contain it, released a half-assed statement that afternoon, calling it an unfortunate misalignment in resource strategy. Nobody bought it. Jared tried to explain it away in a last-ditch Zoom with investors, said the clause had lapsed relevance. His voice cracked halfway through, like even he didn't believe himself. Legal wasn't having it. Internal audit traced the entire decision back to him. No consultation, no paper trail, no time-stamped sign-off. Just Jared, playing God with a contract he never read. He was put on leave that night. Then he disappeared. Next morning, Vancro's general counsel resigned without notice. Finance flagged irregular reimbursements tied to Jared's expense account. First it looked like meals, then it looked like vendor kickbacks. By Monday, internal auditors were pulling 5 years' worth of receipts, and the clients, they didn't wait. Grentech's termination triggered a cascade. 2 other major accounts, both government adjacent, walked within 72 hours, didn't even ask for renegotiation, just pulled the plug and reissued bids to competitors. Vancro's stock dropped 11%. Panic turned to paralysis. Directors stopped giving statements. HR locked up behind legal. Even the office birthday calendar vanished from the wall. Nobody wanted to be associated with a company that couldn't read its own contracts. Someone I used to work with texted me a screenshot from the internal comms system, a directive from the CEO. No one is to contact Daniel Rowan. Too late. My phone was already ringing off the hook. Recruiters, journalists, a podcast host. I didn't answer any of them. I just kept sipping tea on my porch in St. Louis, watching the sky turn orange behind the trees. Because I wasn't surprised. Jared walked into that company like it was a sandbox and started kicking castles without checking where the load-bearing walls were. He wanted to cut fat, but all he did was slice the artery. He thought the silence meant control, that no resistance meant no threat. But I wasn't silent. I was loaded. Clause 17.4 wasn't a fluke. It was written for exactly that scenario, for the idiot who thinks they're untouchable. And now, he was gone. And Vancro was bleeding out in public. It was a Tuesday when the courier showed up. Plain guy, khakis, and a polo. Handed me a thick navy folder with a silver Grentech logo on the front. Raised lettering, heavy paper, smelled like money. No return address. Just a sticky note. From Mr. Kessler, personal. Inside was a handwritten card on stiff white cardstock. Lunch? No time. No RSVP. Just that one word. I showed up the next day to a quiet corner table at Carver's downtown. Kessler was already seated, sipping iced tea like nothing in the last 2 weeks surprised him. Not the lawsuit, not the fallout, not the headlines. No lawyer, no assistant. Just him, a second glass of tea waiting across the table, and a 6-page offer laid flat between us. No preamble, no buzzwords. Director of Continuity, he said, flipping the folder toward me. Build it however you want. You choose the team. You set the hours. You define the scope. I didn't touch the folder, just stared at it for a second, then looked at him. What happened to the last guy? He smiled. Never had one. We were waiting on you. I opened it, straight salary, no stock games, no nonsense. Clean benefits. A carve-out budget to set up the department from scratch. It was like someone finally understood what my work was actually worth, not the position. Me. I passed it to him. You should keep this, I said. Remind your next hire how much a good clause can save your ass. He folded it once, tucked it into his coat pocket. Only thing I want changed, I said, tapping the title line of the offer. No legacy in the job title. I'm not some damn relic. Kessler nodded. You're not a legacy. You're a reset. We didn't shake on it. Didn't have to. He signed the bottom of the page with his own pen, then slid it back across the table. I added my name, clean, centered. It was the quietest deal I'd ever done. No drama, no deck, no fake smiles. He didn't pitch me. He didn't have to. He already knew what I could do. He'd seen it. On time, under pressure, and bulletproof. I left with the folder tucked under my arm, walking past people who had no clue that the old system had just been replaced. By the guy who used to keep it standing. By the guy they thought they could erase. Wallace and Bray ran the headline first. Vendor breach at Vancro sends shockwaves through defense supply sector. By noon, it was everywhere. Industry sites, government contracting boards, even LinkedIn feeds. PR firms scrambled. Vancro tried to spin it as a mutual restructuring. Nobody bought it. The real story was out. Grentech pulled their business after Vancro violated a locked clause and fired the one guy they weren't allowed to touch. That detail made its way into forums, procurement circles, and morning briefings. Government review teams flagged the company for contract mismanagement. Major partners walked, new bids froze. No one trusted a vendor that couldn't read its own paperwork. Inside Vancro, no one could explain it. They couldn't point to a single document approving my termination, because there wasn't one. Jared had done it on his own, and now, his name was scrubbed clean. No trace in the org chart, no redirect on his email, no exit memo. Just silence, like he'd never existed. No one mentioned him. A week later, a plain brown package showed up at my door. No return label, no note. Just bubble wrap and tape. Inside was a wooden frame, dark walnut, smooth edges. Behind the glass, clause, 17.4, my name highlighted in yellow. Whoever sent it knew what they were doing. I placed it on the shelf above my desk, not as a trophy, but a reminder. These days, I work from home. Grentech calls when they need me. I don't sit in meetings for things that could have been an email. No Slack pings, no birthday cupcakes in the break room. Just direct calls, secure systems, and clear asks. I pick my projects, I set the timelines, I keep it clean. They know what I'm worth. They don't micromanage value. Vancro never saw the trigger they were pulling when they cut me loose. Never asked who the key man was in that stack of names and job titles. They thought I was just another middle manager. What they didn't realize was, I wasn't erased. I was the kill switch.